Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Capricorn energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as a more high vibrational Capricorn energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy. We all harness Capricorn energy, and people who are Capricorn sun signs, they have their more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy also, which is represented by the devil. And people trying to present themselves as much more stable, grounded, and loving than they really are. But, you know, we all have lessons learned in life, and we could struggle within ourselves. We could want to move forward, having more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, in our dreams, in love, in others. There might be something different we'd like to do in our life. The bottom row can just represent our comfort zone. It's hard to step out of our comfort zone and move forward in life differently, just like it's difficult to leave one job to go to another job or distance yourself from a friendship or relationship. And some people could be battling within themselves right now. Some people aren't. Some people are moving forward, happy with the way they're living their life, more high vibe or more shadowy. You know, if we have a problem with it, then we might battle within ourselves about doing life differently. And some people just have a more hopeful, optimistic, loving nature. Some people have a more prideful, egotistical, materialistic, defensive, immature nature. And you know, it's kind of like in our free will, we can pick one path or the other, and it's very hard to change if someone has kind of made that decision at a core foundational level of how they're going to live their life. It's very hard to change it, but there's some people who are juggling back and forth and still haven't picked a path. So those people kind of might more struggle within themselves, and you know, it all comes with age and maybe life experience. You could have some people in your life that you think maybe are a little more immature or something, shadowy. Those people in turn could view some people in their life, and those people could be more immature or more shadowy than them, you know? So, it's kind of relative, and just listen to where you might be in the story, how you harness your Capricorn energy, how other people do. You know, Capricorn energy can be about what we view as victorious and successful and like a legacy in our life. And some people, they're sure if it's all about them, they'll be happy. Or if they make their life about these things they indulge in, whether that's looking to things outside of themselves to make them feel better, money, status, power, being the center of attention, having someone indulge them, you know, that could be their idea of living the dream life, right? And they could present themselves, again, as a more emotionally stable, grounded, mature person than they are in order to get other people to go into business with them, hire them, date them, marry them. But they could be more shadowy. And high vibe people really are who they say they are. They're not trying to pretend that they're more mature than they are or more stable and grounded than they are. They just are being authentically who they are at the moment. And in high vibe, kind of motivated by love and to not act and give in and indulge their more immature, shadowy nature. And probably don't want to hang out with other people who do, you know? So in the bottom row, the reason for the reading is the heart card, the 7th house, which is Libra energy, which is, you know, what we think is just and fair and how we view life at any given moment in time. And we have the sudden wealth, the timing, and the short illness. And then we have a card that isn't showing itself. And we can all be caught up in the world. The sudden wealth can represent like the things of the world. I think it's just and fair because Libra is represented by the scales of justice. What we think is just and fair. I think it's just and fair to be more about me or about these things of the world that I want to go indulge in or make my life about. And up above that, we have the book and the karmic cycle, which, of course, the karmic cycle could be kind of represented by Libra energy too. There can come a time in our life. The reason for the top rose reading is the child card. Our shadowy nature is considered our more immature nature. And it's the reason why the top rose reading came out. We can all live our life a certain way, view life a certain way, be caught up in certain things, think we're living the dream life. Because that's how we view life. We're caught up in these things of the world. We want these certain things. We want to manifest these certain things. But then there can come a point in time, and we could have been doing a lot of those things where we hadn't worked through some past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs. And so that can be why we're looking outside of ourselves for people to like us and people to love us and looking to these other things to make us feel better, right? But then the book card is Pisces energy, which can be where we could have indulged in these certain things, manifested these certain things. It seemed like we had what everybody should want in the world, to a degree, right? But it's kind of like our inner child nature is telling us, if we listen to our more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature, which is what Pisces can represent, versus being caught up more in the illusion of the world, that's what will truly make us feel stable and grounded and is true abundance. And when we're aligned with our truth versus maybe living more from our mind than our heart, Libra is air sign energy. And I'm kind of viewing the child as having that more hopeful, believing spirit. When did we give up on our dreams? When did we get more codependent energy and looking to other people to love us versus us loving us? In a healthy way, that I do have hope and faith and belief in my dreams, and I want to close out a karmic cycle. I don't want to keep, we'll all repeat certain patterns of ways of living life and viewing life until we kind of have worked through the illusion of it. And then we're willing to kind of face our fears, to look to the future and what could be. And we could kind of realize that if I keep living my life the way I live it, and I keep letting maybe more my fear or my codependency or my lust or my greed or my defensiveness or whatever run my life, it's just a matter of time, that because living the same phase of life over and over and over, and in my readings a lot, I try to equate it to when we were like 15 and 18 and when we were 21 and when we were 25. Every cycle of life has in the timing card, like, it was just and fair for us to live life a certain way and be caught up in these certain things and view life these certain ways to a degree, because we just have lessons to learn in life, and we go through these certain phases of life to learn these certain lessons. But do we keep repeating and staying like a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 21 or a 25 or whatever all of our life? If we keep doing that, it is kind of like we're kind of indulging our more immature nature because of our fear of detaching from an old way of living life and viewing life, where it doesn't challenge us to grow and heal and mature ourselves anymore. But, the seed was planted within us. We have the seed of the knowledge of good and evil within us, and we have our more hopeful, believing nature that is there, that wants us to grow to our full potential and believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams. And then we have our more shadowy, fearful nature that wants us to just stay in our comfort zone and not step out of our comfort zone. And we can kind of, we all become adults and we can get comfortable, like, well, I'm not 15, I'm not 18, I'm not 21, I'm not 25. I have moved out of home and I might have a job and I might be in a relationship. I'm done. Like, I don't have to do anything anymore. Kind of makes me think of Sometimes people who are like, my end goal is to get married. And then what? Well, just to be married. Like that is a goal for some reason, which might be out of fear and codependency, more than I want to have someone in my life who I inspire them and they inspire me to work through some of these things in the moon card that we might have buried beneath the surface. The moon card is also Pisces energy, and it can talk about our fears and things buried in our subconscious. And are we willing to listen to our intuition, which is what Pisces is also about, that when we've kind of gotten in a phase of life and we live a certain phase of life, that there kind of comes a time where it can become, the karmic cycle can be that it's becoming toxic. And it's kind of the universe's way of telling us it's time for you to face some of your fears, and then in the courtship card to love yourself and believe in yourself. And then the dice card is fire sign energy, about being inspired to listen to your intuition, that living my life if I keep living my life in a certain phase of life, it kind of, in the short illness, it affects me because I might have come to realize that I might keep doing this more out of my fear, my insecurity, or my codependency. Like, I have learned everything I needed to learn here. I learned what I was meant to learn from that chapter of life in the book card. It's time to go to the next chapter of life, and the moon can represent how that's scary because we are going into unknown territory. If we keep staying where we're at, in a way, it's kind of like the sun. I know everything that happens here. I know everything that goes on here. If I move forward in life differently, I move, I go get a new job, I step forward in life a little differently, maybe do some work to get more balance within myself and to feel more confident within myself, and just live my more authentic life, where in our more worldly nature we could have kind of lived behind our ego, and it could have been more about trying again to present ourselves in the world as a very stable, grounded, emotionally mature, loving person. But we still could have these issues that we deal with, that we kind of keep buried beneath the surface. But the difference is, high vibe people do get motivated to kind of deal with those issues. Can we all at any moment have some fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs? Yeah. And for a while, we don't maybe really feel the need to deal with them. But eventually, we kind of realize is kind of clouding my judgment. It's kind of getting more of a hold of me. It's instilling more fear and insecurity in me as time goes by, that I need to deal with these things. And so then they do get inspired, because high vibe energy is dealing with the truth of things, because the truth sets us free. And if we don't, these things keep manipulating us, and high vibe people don't like to keep feeling manipulated by their own shadowy nature or other people in their life that are kind of in shadowy energy. If I'm operating, I could have gotten in jobs, friendships, and relationships for whatever reason I did, and to whatever degree of how I view the world or my own fears and insecurities. And I could have gotten in a relationship with people who had their own degree of whatever issues, but we kind of could have been on the same page, and we could have had a lot of things maybe in common. Pisces can talk about things that we find emotionally fulfilling. The sudden wealth can be kind of like the Ten of Pentacles card, which is just that we have certain things that make us feel more stable and grounded, things that we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And we meet people and we become friends with people and we get in relationships with people because we could have a lot of those things in common. But then as time goes by, we can start to see that though I might be more inspired by love with the courtship, the fire card, and the high honor card. And I might be someone who's willing to let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play. And some other people need more time, basically, and they may never get out of and may choose to never let their more hopeful, believing inner child nature out to play. In Libra energy, which I also view as the King of Swords, that can be a person's, and anybody can harness that. They don't have to be a Libra sun sign. They can just align with their more self-protective nature. Why? Probably because they had people in their life or people they grew up with that they had that hopeful, believing nature, and things maybe didn't work out, and then some people went into their shadowy more energy, and until they deal with those issues that could have caused them pain or heartbreak, those things keep manipulating them, and they could decide, I don't want to deal with those things, but I do want to look like those things. I've worked through them, I've resolved them. I want to be in relationship with other people who are loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging. But I still have these issues kind of buried beneath the surface that I don't deal with. I either have past pain and heartbreak that I don't deal with, which is probably the underlying factor of why they would look to making their life more about themselves, self-protective, or indulgence, or status or ego or image or money, because some things that could happen in their life clouded their judgment, but they need to work through that. Other people can provide a loving and encouraging and supportive environment, but some people think that's the way it should be. I should be able to align with my more shadowy nature if I create the illusion, which is what Pisces energy is about. I'll just create this illusion that I'm not more materialistic or more fearful or more insecure or more bossy or self-protective. And I'll take a risk to go get in a relationship with someone who is more hopeful and believing than me. And I'll try to hide that I might have these more shadowy ways of living life or viewing life, but they've kind of justified it in their mind. Because if to work through those things that you kind of keep buried beneath the surface, you do have to put in, you have to be inspired in the fire sign energy to even want to invest time, energy, and effort to work through those things. And some people don't. We can choose to stay in denial of the truth. We can choose to not want to see the truth. If someone is more been heartbroken or manipulated, or is just more about themselves or more materialistic, or this is what they think is just and fair in relationships, for them to be more about themselves, kind of, and to try to manipulate people to get what they want, they could think that's what everybody does. And they could think everybody's hiding their past pain and heartbreak. Everybody's hiding their fear and their insecurity. Everybody's more getting in relationships maybe more to get someone to love them, or for the status or the ego or the image. But that's not the truth. But, if that's however we view life, we rationalize. And so then we would think there's other people who think that way. But some high vibe people do have hope and faith and belief and love. And they're not just creating an illusion. And they don't want to get in a relationship just more for someone to love them. They want to love themselves. And they want to be in relationships with other people who have learned to love themselves. Because that's when, and I view the high honor card as like a Six of Wands card, which is Leo energy, which shadowy Leo can be, we are operating more from our egoic nature. But high vibe Leo is, I've been illuminated to the truth. I have worked through, I was inspired to work through my own fears, my own insecurities, my own more immature nature, my more codependent nature, my more lustful, greedy nature. I've lived this life and I've probably driven my life off into the ditch in these different ways, and I've gotten in relationships with these different types of people. And I think coming together with all these different people is to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And when we could realize Libra energy, besides the King of Swords, it's also represented by the 2 and the 3 and the 4 of Swords. The 2 can be that, I haven't picked a path yet and I can't decide. I didn't even know I had to pick a path. And the 3 can be where sometimes we feel more aligned with our truth and we feel more balanced. And sometimes we get involved in things that really causes conflict between our mind and our heart, because there can be things we like about it, but it doesn't really seem to be aligned with our truth. And we can get in situations where we're heartbroken. And then the 4 of Swords is, are we going to deal with the truth of it? And High Vibe Leo is also represented by the Sun, being willing to offer love and compassion and forgiveness to myself for the mistakes I've made and where I needed to heal and grow and mature. Offer love and compassion and forgiveness to people in my life. They're where they're at. They were where they were at. And everybody has this free will of how they want to then move forward in life. And we can either no, I've decided I don't really want to maybe take a risk to do love. I get hurt doing love. I'm going to keep aligning with my more immature nature of kind of indulging myself in the illusion of love. I love love. Want to get in relationships with other people who love love. Want to get in relationships maybe for the indulgence of it, the ego, the image, the status, so long as the people they're in relationship with are willing to stay in relationship with them and they're all caught up in being in it for those reasons, and no one is more inspired to see through the illusion of it and really live their more authentic life, they'll keep moving forward, and the shadowy person will keep hiding the fact and not wanting to see the truth that it is a more shadowy relationship, and they're rejecting a more high vibrational way of living life. The sweetheart. We're either aligned with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature within us, and then being bold and brave and confident enough in ourselves to communicate and work with other people in the world who are loving and encouraging and supportive. But we have the free will to reject that within ourselves and just try to create an illusion with more emotionally mature, loving people, because we kind of want them to indulge us in a relationship like a parent would a child, where they don't require us to kind of grow up. But then the high vibe people who get in a relationship with them eventually, they start to see through the illusion, and they start to see that the person they could be in a relationship with is kind of in more shadowy fire sign energy that anyone can harness. It's kind of more indulging themselves in the relationship for what they can get out of it. Is it good for my ego and my image or my status? Are you loving and nurturing and indulgent of me? Yeah, I'll keep staying in it. This works for me. But the high vibe people kind of feel like, but you're not that type of person. So I'm being inspired and motivated and authentic and loving and just and fair and balanced within myself, where I tempered my more egoic, defensive, fearful nature or immature nature to work together with you in a more just and fair way. But you're not doing that within yourself for you to be more authentic and loving and encouraging authentically. It's like an illusion you create. So I feel like I'm in a relationship with someone who's in the relationship with me for reasons other than love. And I thought it was going to be about love, because love is supposed to be just and fair, and where you are treating other people the way you like to be treated. But if you're living more from your mind and your self-protective nature, how are you going to treat a loving person who's authentic and loving like they treat you if that's not the truth of who you are. So sometimes shadowy people are looking for people who are those loving, nurturing people because they think you are the answer to them healing. But you're not. That would be like treating you like drugs or booze or alcohol or sex or gambling. None of those things are going to be the answer to them healing. They have to do this work within themselves. And that's where people can be like a black void. You give, 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 and they take, 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 take. But they never do this work within themselves to work through those things they keep buried beneath the surface. No, no, that's not the answer. No, 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 no. But it is the answer, but they don't want to see. So again, people can provide a loving and encouraging and supportive environment for people to do this work within themselves and work through those issues. It's just like, what if you had a friend and you got along great for a long time, but the thing is, eventually, there are these issues within them that influence the choices that they make in their life based on what they think is just and fair. I think it's just and fair for me to kind of be more indulgent in a relationship, more immature in a relationship, more about myself in a relationship, more about the pride, the ego, or the status or the image, or we should stay in this because it creates such a good illusion in the world of how wonderful our life is. Or they just hide the truth. Maybe some of them have a problem. Their idea of what's just and fair and what they think is just and fair in a relationship is different than what other people think is just and fair. And they know that, but because they have maybe a lack in belief in believing, if you haven't learned to love yourself, you can definitely reject other people who love you. Even loving people can do that. Loving people can chase after people who are more like, oh, look at that person. They seem to be defensive to love. Oh, look at that person. They're more arrogant or prideful. Look at that, and we can go try, like, I'm going to go change people. Well, we can play that scenario out if we want. We might be repeating an old pattern. We might have grown up with people who had some of those traits and characteristics, and subconsciously it kind of drives what we do because we still have some heartbreak about it. So we're trying to get people who have those ways of being that we can be in a romantic relationship with to, I'm sure if I was now that I could be in a romantic relationship with people who have those traits and characteristics, they would certainly not choose to be this shadowy way of being. Of course, they'd choose love, but that's where we kind of have illusions about the world. Everybody has free will. And eventually, high vibe people get motivated and inspired to love and believe in themselves. I'm no longer going to go try to change people. If I could be attracted to people, there could be a lot of reasons, and, attractiveness, stability, security, all these things that I could want to be in a relationship with them. But if my intuition tells me that that person hasn't worked through some issues, and maybe as I get to know them, and then, we can get to know people, kind of leading up here to the courtship card. But am I going to move forward with them? The Six of Wands can mean kind of having a new beginning with someone, more than like being just friends and acquaintances and a dating stage. Am I really willing to put my more authentic, loving nature in a relationship with someone who my intuition is telling me I could be repeating an old pattern? And for some people, they're like, no, I've learned to listen to my intuition. And I think our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world because of the fact that people can kind of create this illusion and can have very good false masks and be very convincing. But over time, you realize they don't really operate from a foundation of love. Or you're not on the same page. They could love someone else, but because that relationship didn't work out, they want to create an illusion with someone else. Maybe to get that other person upset or heartbroken. So that person will come back and get in a relationship with them. And it's like, I don't want to be used for you to hurt someone else. I don't want to be used for you to manipulate someone else. And I don't want to get in a relationship on my part out of any of those reasons. So as some people are moving forward in friendships and relationships and jobs, moving forward in a very authentic, balanced, loving, inspiring way, there's always going to be people in the world who don't like that. Because, like, why do you seem to have those things when they could think they deserve those things? But they might not be people who work cooperatively with people in a more just and fair way. But they want these things, but yet they keep deciding to maybe take action. You know, it's like somebody saying, I want that harvest. You know, we have to plant good seeds and we have to nurture things and all of that to have an abundant harvest. And some people are like, well, I want those things. And the way to get those things, again, I will get in a relationship with someone who's very loving and nurturing and pays attention to all those things and puts a lot of work into making things in that energy. And then I want to indulge in it with them. But they don't really put in that work and effort. They create the illusion they will, but as time goes by, they kind of revert to the truth of who they are, and it is kind of more indulging themselves in their more immature ways of being. And eventually other people see it, and other people, like employers, let them go, and friends kind of distance themselves, and romantic interests move on. And everybody can choose to stay in denial of the truth. They can think, I'm this just and fair person, and I act this way, and I dress this way, and I conduct myself this way. But again, it's kind of like they do all these things. It's like as if they think life is a math problem, living more from their mind than their heart. Well, aren't you supposed to act this way, and aren't you supposed to dress this way, and aren't you supposed to hang out with these people and do these certain things, and people will view you like this certain type of person? It's like, yeah, and that might work for a while. But if it's not authentically who you are, for one thing, why don't you figure out who you really are and what really drives and motivates you and live your more authentic life? But another, I don't know, it's just, I'm sure if you've experienced it, some of the shadowy people right now have already had, if they are more codependent, if they lost someone in their life who kind of played that role in their life, they're looking for someone else to, like, play that role in their life. But it's like, it can be more like, well, I used to have people in my life, whether they were a parent or a friend or a romantic interest, who used to kind of indulge me in my immature behavior, and I'm looking for a replacement person. And it's like, good luck. You know, when we were younger, we were more willing to indulge people because we were as naive and gullible and hopeful and believing. But as time goes by, I think some of the people, like, they don't want to grow up emotionally, some of them. And other people do. Other people don't want to keep indulging their more immature nature and think that other people should indulge them in their more immature nature. And other people do. So, high vibe people do listen to their intuition, because when they didn't, it didn't work out the way they thought, and they've learned. It's not like your intuition is yapping in your ear all the time, but we've probably all been out in the world in different circumstances where we were thinking, yeah, I'm going to go do that. And that's when our intuition was like, you should not do that. You should go home. This is not a good idea. This is not going to turn out the way you think. Or more subtle, where it's like, I don't know. I think this person is this way. I think this person is that way. But because we so much want the things that we want to get the justice that we want, and we want these friendships or we want these relationships, we can indulge people for a long time. And you could be a very loving, nurturing person. And you can have that very hopeful, believing nature. But there does come a time where we can't keep hiding that we're kind of heartbroken. And there comes a time when people are willing to deal with the truth. There's something wrong here. There's something not right. I maybe don't feel like shadowy energy can be where you feel limited and restricted and confined and oppressed and imprisoned in a way. And some people, again, could be very much more aligned with making their life more about the world. And then it can be all these rules and regulations that we've got to do this and we got to do that. And you got to act like this and talk to these people, not those people, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? I don't know who put all those rules and regulations in your head, which maybe, again, it's just stuff we kind of extrapolate from life as we watch people, of what is good and what is wrong and what's just and what's fair and how will people view me. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to go out in the world and the world is going to judge me more based on the type of person they are anyway. If there's someone who wants to always find someone to belittle or berate, they're going to belittle and berate me no matter what. If they're looking for someone to tear down, they're going to tear down people just because that's what they like to do. I'm going to live in my truth, and I have no intention of wanting to cause people upset or be scandalous. I just, high vibe people act in a way being a good leader in the world. Treating other people the way they like to be treated, being authentic, not trying to manipulate and control people. Treat other people the way they like to be treated, and the world can judge away. And believe me, the world will judge away, because it causes them conflict between their mind and their heart about why they live their life the way they do, and why don't they love and believe in themselves to live their more authentic life. And it's like, well, because, and again, it's kind of like all these unspoken things in our own head. Everybody else could be living their more authentic life, but the more we get caught up in like, oh, well, I couldn't do that. No, I couldn't wear that to that. Like, oh my gosh, scandalous. I wore white pants after Memorial Day or whatever, Labor Day. It's just kind of can depend on maybe the foundations we were brought up in. Some people are kind of hurtful and unkind, and they keep thinking that with time, the loving people in their life will kind of give up on their dreams, and they could know that those people have love for them, and they're just kind of waiting for either things to go wrong in the high vibe people's life, or those people to be sad and come back and basically do the relationship the way they want them to do it. But if the high vibe people in their life are like, I've already worked for you, been in a friendship with you, been in a relationship with you, I was already loving and encouraging and authentic, and apparently that wasn't enough. When I offered the highest energy of all. So apparently your truth is different than my truth, and I'm going to let you find some other people to hang out with. And I'm going to keep moving forward. And some of the people who weren't wanting to see the truth could now be being illuminated to the truth. And some of them could feel a little sick. Because when people in a relationship have the free will choice to treat other people in a just and fair and authentic and loving way, or they can choose not to, hoping you won't love and believe in yourself, and because you're heartbroken, maybe they can go indulge in whatever they want to go indulge in, and that eventually everything will work out the way they wanted it to, because they know you actually love them. And now those people could realize that, I can love people and I don't want to be in a relationship with them any more than I am. We've all grown up in our families, and for most people in our life, it doesn't matter. They don't really want to hang out with us anymore either. I mean, to more than they do. Can we all love each other? We can all have brothers and sisters and moms and dads and cousins and all that. Do I like you? Do I love you? Would I want to live my life like you? No. But you can go live your life. And so long as you treat each other, I respect you have the free will to live your life whatever way you want. They know you have the free will to live your life whatever way you want. And all sorts of different people all different ways of living life can all work together in workplaces, in neighborhoods, in communities, in families, and it's fine. But it's more challenging when it was a relationship you wanted to move forward with and have them move forward with you and be more loving and encouraging of you, and maybe work through some of their fears and insecurities so they'd keep moving forward with you and being your friend or being in a relationship with you. And some of those people aren't ready to, either because of things within themselves or other people in their life. And high vibe people wish them peace. That, I don't have to know what's going on, but if I feel like you're not being truthful, if I feel like you are trying to manipulate me, if because you're not ready to move forward in life differently, and I am ready, you could want me to stay stuck with you. And sometimes people get in relationships or marriages and they have these things that manipulate them. And then they want you to stay stuck with them and let those same things or people manipulate you. And it's like, but those things don't manipulate me like they manipulate you. So until you work through it, I'm going to show you how someone who does have love for people is willing to, they keep making the free will choice to keep not being inspired to take more inspired action in truth and love and healing and growing and maturing. So I'm going to let you hang out together for as long as you want to keep doing that, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to keep moving forward. And then the child could represent that you've closed out a chapter, where you've worked through your inner conflict about it, because the Six of Swords comes after the Six of Wands, and the Six of Swords come after the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords. And that's a period of conflict because of how some of the people that you had a dream you wanted to bring into reality with, you could have been on the same page at one time, but then it got to be where maybe people had to just willing to be more bold and brave and confident, or more authentic, or more inspired by love. And then if you are inspired to listen to your intuition, believe in yourself, I believe that you have learned the lesson you were meant to learn. You've been illuminated to the truth. You don't want to repeat an old pattern. And some of the other people are still okay repeating that pattern or way of living life or way of viewing life. And then I think the child could be like a page where you're ready to have that new beginning. And some people could be hiding right now that they kind of feel like they lost out on a sweetheart in their life, because there could be other things or people in their life that still kind of have a hold on them or that manipulate them. Again, it could be friends or family members. It could be their lust or their greed or this illusion about how they view relationships, or that they keep thinking it should be more about them, you know? And it's like, so they're going to probably keep repeating their pattern. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Capricorn that they might not see coming? The Five of Swords. Why? Because of the Knight of Pentacles. So the Knight of Pentacles and the sudden wealth being like the Ten of Pentacles are both Virgo energy. The high vibe people did this work within themselves to work through their own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs, that they also have people that they love that could not be being loving in their life, or aren't in their life, or don't have someone like that in their life. And they're doing this work to love themselves, to give them, and that's also how I view high vibe Leo, giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. Choosing to be in life-giving energy. I can always be sad and blame everyone else and be in self-pity and stay stuck, or I can believe in myself, believe in my dreams, get out of my ego. If certain things and certain people and certain relationships didn't work out the way I wanted them to, well, I need to get out of the illusion that they were supposed to. You know, if they were supposed to, they would have. And maybe there were some things I wasn't seeing, and then the moon can just be that the divine is ultimately in control, and we have lessons to learn, and maybe we weren't learning the lessons we needed to learn in the way life was going, so then it's even God can kind of, God knows the truth of where people are at and what their dreams are and what motivates them and what lessons they need to learn. And it's really trying to get people in the right friendships, jobs, and relationships that they need to be in. But we can stay stuck in the sadness and the heartbreak and all that for a really long time. But part of that whole life experience might have been to get us to love ourselves, to deal with our own mental conflict of the Five of Swords that we have about being that person in our own life. And maybe it was to get us out of more codependent energy. And God could have known, and you could have come to know, that some people in your life want you to be in that more codependent energy. Some people like you to view them as very stable, abundant, and balanced, and you look to them for that in your life. And that but they don't really want you to love and believe in yourself because they like this kind of relationship dynamic. And then if you are learning to love yourself and believe in yourself, and then the fives can talk about change, you're not the same person you were when you got in a relationship, well, then they have mental conflict about staying in the relationship with you because you're not the same person that you were. And that is the kind of people they like to be in a relationship with, to kind of operate from this more shadowy way. I like you to be more fearful and codependent and hurt and heartbroken, and then you view me as this just and fair and stable and abundant person that you come to feel better, and that's how I like the relationship to keep playing out. And it's like, but I worked through the issues and I healed, like, aren't you proud of me? Well, that's dandy for you, but now if I were to get in a relationship and stay in a relationship with you, the whole relationship dynamic changes. Now, in order to move forward with you, I would have to work through my issues that make me want to be in this more imbalanced, codependent type relationship, and I don't want to deal with it. So you can go, I might be sad, but if I'm unwilling to deal with my issues of why I don't like that you've changed, well, then I might go repeat this pattern with someone else. And if they don't realize that, again, a more high vibrational relationship is where you're treating each other the way you like to be treated, from a place of love and encouragement, and it's just and it's fair and it's balanced. And that's when you can kind of see through the illusion where some people it really kind of was, and you didn't see it, that it was really more about them. And then sometimes when you distance yourself from some people because some things are going on that are kind of shadowy, and then they're still not kind of, you could reach out, but they don't reach out. And then it's like, well, apparently I was the one putting in the work and effort to make it work. And apparently they're not. And maybe for a long time I was the one who was putting in work and effort to make it work. And that could be the type of relationship some people like too. You're supposed to be the one putting in all the work and effort, and then in a shadowy way, it's kind of like they indulge in it because you haven't seen through the illusion of who they are. And then as you work through all that confusion and mental conflict you have about it, it makes you choose to love and believe in yourself and be that person in your own life. And then I don't want to be in those kind of more imbalanced, codependent relationships. And I've seen the truth, I've healed, and I'm ready to move forward in life and have this brand new beginning. And I learned the lesson I was meant to learn. And then from the 10 of Pentacles to the 1 Pentacle, it's becoming independent of an old phase of life. And I'm ready to move forward in life differently and learn more lessons. And some of the other people in your life are going to just go repeat this pattern with someone else. Just like people can leave a job like, oh my gosh, you people got some issues here that you try to keep hidden. And then some people work there and they move on. Other people keep staying there, new employees come, and it's like, oh wow. And it just depends on how much mental conflict someone has about leaving. Some of these more shadowy people that are repeating this pattern with someone else, the next person they're in friendships, relationships, or hired to work there, those people could be going through right now mental conflict about them leaving some shadowy people in their life, or some of the shadowy places and people you've known. And we all have the free will. It kind of just depends on when we're ready to kind of deal with the truth and take action on our truth. And some of you are taking action on your truth. There might be people as you're moving forward that you might find maybe you would like to move forward. Some of those people could be like, dang, why am I investing in the people I'm investing in? Or shoot, I'm already invested in something. You seem like you're someone who'd be great to be in a relationship with or a friendship with. Other people might pop up in your life and they're the next person who wants to indulge in a relationship. They could be people, shadowy 5 of Swords. Can also be people that have poor intentions, and it's more maybe because they're mad at someone else, or it's more about the ego or the image. And I think you've just learned these lessons from this past life experience. You're just going to listen to your intuition about the different people that you meet. And it might cause you some mental conflict that your intuition is going to tell you, keep moving on. Don't get in a more involved relationship with that person. But in your fire sign energy, you could want to. But it's like, well, I'd be repeating an old pattern, and I've already been there and done that, and I know how it turns out. So I'm going to keep moving on. And if they want to do the work within themselves, and if eventually they want to come towards me and illuminate the truth and lessons they've learned, just like I'm going forward in life, and basically by how I invest my time, energy, and effort, and what I invest my time, energy, and effort into, it kind of shows what my truth is and what my truth isn't. And if other people are willing to do that and are seeming to be authentic and stable and have healed, and we kind of seem to be on the same page, then those are people I'm willing to keep moving forward with or incorporate into my life. But the people who are still unhealed, don't want to heal, more codependent, more caught up in getting in relationships or staying in relationships, more for the ego or the image or whatever, it's like, go find someone else to go get in a relationship with. So I think you're going to have these new beginnings as you keep investing in making decisions more out of love for yourself, instead of being tempted by your more worldly, shadowy nature that wants you to make decisions more out of lust and greed and pride and ego, and getting in relationships with other people who are more aligned with your shadowy nature, it's like, I don't want to do a shadowy life. So I'm going to believe in myself, believe in my dreams, and I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other to invest in things that are aligned with my truth and people that are authentic and loving, and not invest my time, energy, and effort into, or as little as possible, the people who aren't. What's coming up for people who harness a more shadowy Capricorn energy? Judgment. Why? Because of the Queen of Pentacles. So, sometimes some people, again, they try to present themselves as these just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally mature, loving family people. That can be the Queen of Pentacles, male or female. And Libra energy can be where people, it's their public politician persona. Look how stable and balanced and nurturing and loving I am, male or female. You should want to hire me, date me, marry me. Well, you can have created an illusion about the type of person you are, but, eventually people see the truth. And again, other people could be calling judgment on them, that you present yourself as like someone who is a counterpart to a King of Pentacles, and like that is your truth. If you're going to authentically, male or female, because the kings can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world. If you present yourself as a King of Pentacles, you should be a high vibe Queen of Pentacles emotionally. But people see through the illusion that people might have the status, the image, the money, the clout, the social status, the social clout, might be attractive, might be charming, whatever. But it's kind of a lack of substance. What they have is things of the world. What they don't have is a creative, inspired, passionate, self-aware, insightful, hopeful, believing, loving nature. And that's why some people are drawn and attracted to certain people, even if they don't seem to have all these things in the world that maybe some other people have, because they're uplifting, they're authentic, they're warm, they're loving. They do have self-awareness and self-insight. They have learned lessons in life. They have tempered their more immature, egoic, manipulative, prideful, egotistical, self-centered nature. And some other people try to create the illusion that's their truth, but that's not their truth. They do try to use these things of the world that they have to tempt people to get in relationship with them, stay in relationship with them, but they don't really walk the talk. Or even if they walk the talk, it is for these reasons, not because it's authentically their truth. And for those that are more materialistic, I think some people, again, can be very kind of worried more about their image and didn't want people to view them as being more tempted by their lust and their greed and their pride and their ego. And you can hide the truth from some other people some of the time, but you can't hide the truth all the time. And as people see other people and how people are living their life, and if some people seem to be more authentic and generous and loving and not more manipulative and prideful and selfish, you can kind of see the difference between who's who. And that's what some high vibe people in their life, they're always going to have more high vibe people in their life that wanted to move forward with them, and eventually the high vibe people called judgment on them and they move on. And then the people who might keep staying in a relationship with them are people who could be more for the ego or the image or the status, or they like to play that role in people's life. And will play that role in people's life. They to others, other people to them. Because maybe neither one of them want to do love. Neither one of them are more inspired by love. And it is more the ego or the image or the indulgence. And other people kind of see the truth of that. And there'll be people in the world that'll think, hey, I should go live my life like that. And that will tempt some people who had been on a high vibrational path to be tempted to get caught up in the illusion. It's like, well, that seemed to work out for those people. The people I'm in a relationship with require me to be more balanced or more loving or more just or fair. That person doesn't seem to be that type of person, and they seem to have gotten these things. It's like, well, I think eventually those things become like an addiction. If we look to something other than truth and love, we're looking to something to replace that, and then those things become more and more important to us. Just like people can abuse drugs and alcohol, people become so consumed with their ego or their image or getting attention or having money or power or influence, it corrupts them, where it clouds their judgment so much that it just kind of runs their life off into the ditch eventually. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.